In the past week, this video of Mark Cuban playing basketball has went viral on NBA Twitter, and I think that's the sign that says that the NBA season is almost here because we have gotten desperate. So let's go ahead and talk about what's happened this offseason and give a few predictions for what's going to happen in the 2022-2023 NBA season. If you're ready, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down because it's your thumb, and let's go ahead and get into it. The number one stars of this NBA offseason has been the Brooklyn Nets. And it goes from number one, Kyrie Irving deciding that he doesn't want to be in Brooklyn anymore. The coaching, the ownership, just not what he thought it was going to be. And that led to Kevin Durant requesting a trade and being like, yeah, I don't want to be here either. And their owner, Joe Tsai, decided, you don't run my program, you don't run my team, you don't run my franchise. And somehow they all concluded to stay together, which I honestly believe it was a hot pot of mess. As if you, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, say that if we get rid of Steve Nash, I'm willing to stay on this team, I'm willing to cooperate, and then your owner says, yeah, that's not going to happen, then obviously you would think you would stay in that I request a trade, I won't play until I'm gone somewhere else mindset. Why? Because you said that's the main reason why you want to leave. Really, I think this Brooklyn Nets conversation really got into who has more money and who has more power, as Joe Tsai really, instead of getting rid of the coach and making his players happy, which, that is your product. You don't have basketball without Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and every other player on that roster. Instead of getting rid of the coach, you decided, yeah, I'm going to stick with my decision and show my fellow owners that this is my team, this is my franchise, and you don't tell me what to do. Which I completely understand because he did listen to Steve Nash and Kyrie and KD when he brought Steve Nash in, and that honestly wasn't a good idea back then. And it's still not a good idea now. It will look like the players are running his franchise to his fellow owners and the rest of the NBA world if he would get rid of Steve Nash now. Second biggest topic this offseason was the Utah Jazz. They have traded away their two franchise players in Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and their head coach has stepped away. And really, their franchise is kind of all over the place, if you ask me. I personally saw the downfall of the Utah Jazz coming during NBA All-Star Weekend, as Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert were the two people left on the board.
Two best players are last two standing. I'm not going for it.
And they're really good players. Except for Rudy Gobert, because if you listen to the podcast back when I was regularly doing the podcast, you know my feelings about Rudy Gobert, which are, he's really good at defense, but what else is he really bringing to the table? Defense wins championships. I know. I understand. We all need a good defensive player, but you're paying him hundreds of supermax money. So now he is the Minnesota Timberwolves problem asset, if you say the least. And I think personally that's a pretty good fit for him. Because in Utah, he was expected to play defense and score points. And now, being in the Minnesota Timberwolves, he really doesn't have to score that many points. He can focus on defense. Kind of the same situation that Ben Simmons is now in, now that he is a part of the Brooklyn Nets. But on the other hand, Donovan Mitchell being away from the Utah Jazz makes me absolutely excited. Because personally, I feel like cheering for the Utah Jazz is a little anti-black. Like, I'm just saying, especially after what happened to the Duke volleyball player at the BYU volleyball game, this feels a little anti-black to support Utah Jazz. Just say it. It's not. It's really not. Don't get me wrong. It's not. But just personally feels that way to me. And so now that Donovan Mitchell is in Cleveland, I feel like I can get behind that. I can support that. Especially because Cleveland is such a fun team to watch. And then adding Donovan Mitchell on top of Darius Garland, who I think could possibly be in the conversation of one of the top 5 guards in the league this season, it's going to be pretty scary to watch. They had pieces to get them to the NBA playoffs, but it was like once the playoffs hit, they just couldn't get past themselves. Like there was like a wall put up and they're like, yeah, no thanks. We want to go for early vacation. We want to be known as a playoff team, but not like go deep in the playoffs, which I understand. Sometimes you don't want to make it all the way. You just want to get there, say you got there, and you don't really want to participate anymore. I completely understand. But the future of the Utah Jazz, I guess, is pretty good because in that trade, they got Walker Kessler, Ochai Ojabe, which again, so sad because now I feel like I can't root for them. Now I have to root them as a player and not as a team, which, breaks my little heart. The new coach, Will Hardy, who came from the Celtics, and maybe this, refresh, rebrand, they're like bringing back old colors, changing their uniforms, just kind of starting from fresh. I think this could really help Utah. And because of that Rudy Gobert trade to the Minnesota Timberwolves, that trickled down in some way, funneled Patrick Beverley to the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, if you don't know much about Patrick Beverley, then you're like, okay, why is this such a big deal? He's kind of a role player. He's not a star. Well, because it was known in the NBA universe that Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook, who plays on the Los Angeles Lakers, are the best of friends. And so now that they're teammates, everyone has been speculating that they're going to be fighting. It's going to be more drama on top of, the current drama that the LA Lakers had from last season, as Westbrook just really wasn't there to produce, that now he's going to have like his enemy in the locker room and they're going to be fighting all the time. And this video right here came out a few weeks ago showing Patrick Beverley at his press conference and Russell Westbrook at the press conference as well. And they said that this dap was not a serious dap. And a lot of people became body language experts and dap experts, and it was insane. Personally, I don't think that Patrick Beverley had like real life beef with this man. I think it truly was about the game of basketball and not life beef, which I think Russell Westbrook kind of took it a little personally. Something was better than nothing, because I'm pretty sure last year or 2 years ago, it wouldn't have been something, as Patrick Beverley was on ESPN like 5 hours a day for 2-3 weeks straight, just dogging Russell Westbrook. I have two big categories of predictions for this NBA season, and the first is playoff locks. The Cleveland Cavaliers, as they are dangerous. They made their way into the play-ins last year, and even though that's technically not the playoffs, it's the playoffs. Other people aren't playing and you're playing, so we're gonna give them that. And they would have made that run if they didn't, run into the Nets and then a pretty good Hawks team that came after that. They have Donovan Mitchell, who's adding that adult piece back into them, and they're gonna get Ricky Rubio, who was out with a torn ACL, MCL, something like that. They're a good team, and they're not just gonna be a good team that's fun to watch. They're gonna be a good team that I really think can make a move this season. And the second category I have are teams that are gonna be fun to watch. Will they make it to the playoffs? Probably not. But will we have an absolutely great time watching them this season? Is the Houston Rockets. Are they a team full of literal kindergartners? Absolutely. But they're kindergartners who are really good at playing basketball. And sometimes you can't look at the wins and losses for a good season. Unfortunately, that's a very obvious way to pinpoint that. But who cares? Like, who cares if you only win 32 games? You're still a pretty good basketball player, in my opinion. And I think the Houston Rockets, they're going to win a few big games. They're going to win a few, they probably won't get on ESPN, unfortunately. Yeah, but a few NBA TV games that are going to be nationally broadcasted. I feel like they're going to win a few of those. And everyone on that team is going to grow. Again, that's another really young team that's trying to figure out their place in the league. Progress toward the playoffs? Absolutely not. But progress toward them being better basketball players and us having an enjoyable time watching? Absolutely. Well, that is all the predictions I have for this upcoming NBA season. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think is going to happen? How do you feel about all these crazy offseason trades? As well as subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time I post a new video, which are on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to check out my playlist all about the NBA so you know what's happening when they talk about trades and contracts and all that stuff during this season. Remember to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, because it's still your thumb. And remember, don't be afraid to join the convo. From Rudy, I almost said Rudy Gay, you guys.